Welcome to Feisty Chess. You've got e4 on the board. We're going to play Alekhine's Defense with knight f6. Playing Kalabandar on Lee Chess. It's a 10-5 game, and we've got a mainline Alekhine here. Let's see if I remember some of these lines I've been studying. Just reviewed them last night. But lots of ways to deviate. The books can't teach you everything. So d4 or c4 is usually chosen here. Probably d4 at this point. Although there's lots of other tries. Knight c3. Okay, so we're out of book already. I'll probably transpose into something here. Let's just play d6, the usual Alekhine formula. And if he captures, I will take with the e-pawn. You can play lines where you take with the c-pawn. I just don't know those lines all that well. Okay, we're going to continue to put pressure on that. I think we're good here. I don't think knight c3 was a very testing line. I think bishop g4 might be called for here. Yeah, okay. Threat is to take on f3 and then take on d4. Can I do that immediately? I don't think that gains me anything. I could recoup his pawn with taking on c7 or e7. So I'm going to go ahead and recapture. Now this pawn will fall. Oh, there's tricks though. There's tricks. I'm looking at this. Take. Somebody doesn't want to double his pawns. And then knight takes c4. And then is there e5? There is. I need to get castled before this can really become a threat. So let's just continue that plan. Yeah, at the end of that, there was e5 followed by queen a4 check. Look at that maybe in the analysis. Okay, knight e4. Uncertain of the purpose of that move. Is he wanting to play knight to g5? I don't see much problem in that, honestly. I'm just going to castle, and now I'm actually making this threat of taking here. Okay. White shores that up. I think d5 looks good now. Yeah. Especially now I can play bishop b4 with a check. Yeah. I'll be happy to recapture on d5 with my knight. He doesn't have the option of c5 here because I've got knight. I can take this knight. There's a lot of lines in the Alekhine where white gets c5 in after the d5 break. The knight comes back here. This bishop will go here, and the knight will ultimately come here. It's not as bad as it looks. Okay. I did not see that option. Hmm. Can I just play rook to b8? I don't like the idea of knight taking on b7, so I'm going to go rook b8. I still got my threat, just keeping that threat alive. Take. Well, the threat would be take here, and then take twice on c4. All right, do we go for that? He could just choose to double his pawns and open up his king. Let's do this first. Give him the choice of giving up the two bishops. Okay. We're going to win one of those pawns. If not this one, then if g takes, we win this one. So this has got to be good. Good for black. Okay, let's grab this pawn. We can take either one. Oh, we should grab the d pawn. After queen takes, knight takes. There's this fork, but not, because my knight guards that square on d7. That's critical. Okay, we're going for this. We might be giving up two pawns here. He might be giving up two pawns. Oh, he does have b7, doesn't he? He has to take with the knight. He can't take with either. Because both of his pieces are attacked. Okay, I can't claim that I saw that. But if knight takes, then knight takes here, check, and the rook picks up the knight. We remove the defender with check. And if bishop takes, Well, we just remove this defender, which is just hanging. So we have to do something about that knight. Also doesn't seem you can hang on to the bishop pair either. Yeah, let's get rid of the bishop pair, and then we'll grab a second pawn. And it looks like we're cruising here. White's not even finished developing, really. Let's put this bishop on a protected square and propose to trade some pieces. Just get on an open file. Just get our king closer and get rid of the back rank threats. White does the same. We'll go ahead and trade off a pair of rooks. Simplify. No reason not to. Let's just simplify further. More pieces come off, the easier the win becomes. So very, very simple principle. He should probably move his rook to avoid trades here. I looked at rook c1, and my plan is just to play knight d6, knight e3 as a check. And then c6. My knight will have a nice home on d5. Probably he'll go knight a5 here, but I got rook. It's hard to keep those pawns, isn't it? Is there any way we can force a rook trade at least? I'm going to try this. See some knight possibilities here, hitting this a2 pawn and threatening that. Also preventing the rook from defending here. It also happens to defend my pawn temporarily as well. So let's do this. I guess we might as well take this pawn. His king, looks like it might be subject to this if I can get knight d3, and he'll probably come back to c3 though. Okay, he's going to let me have knight d3. Go ahead and activate that rook. Ooh. g5 looks tempting here. Yeah, I'm threatening knight here. Knight f2 check. And if he tries to sneak out with king g3, then there's knight d4 check. Sorry, knight e5 check. So his king is not all that safe. Rooks and knights. You cannot underestimate rooks and knights. I've always said they're the best partners in chess. I think it's I think they cooperate better than the bishop pair. The oldest two pieces as well on the chessboard. The ancient Indian versions of rooks and knights. Okay, what have we got here? We're winning the exchange, or we're mating. So knight f5 check. If he moves the king to f4, knight f4 check. If he moves the king to g3, it's mate on g2. So he needs to take. Rooks and knights. Okay. I might be able to pilfer this pawn here. Should I go after this pawn? Yeah, he can't defend it. So, okay, quite resigned, rather than watch me tick my clock down. Okay, thank you for the game, Kalabandar. I'm going to look at it in the analysis board. Really exemplary Alekhine's defense. I don't say that to toot my own horn. I say that to it shows how the Alekhine defense works. And when white doesn't think really carefully about how to maintain his center, it can rapidly fall apart. I didn't play that ideally after winning those two pawns. Probably could have played better to keep those two nice healthy pawns on the queen side and gradually push them down the board. But I got the job done. So here's the main line, Alekhine's defense. d4 is the main line here. Knight c3. Yeah, it looks like d6 is what's been tried. And knight f3. I could go for c5 here. I just stuck to Alekhine themes, and we transposed. So bishop g4, the main move. You saw the reasoning for that. E takes d6, bishop e2. Now, yeah, you got to get castled before you can try to pull this trick off. Let me show what would happen if I tried to pull this trick off to begin with. Now, white might have taken this way, which is a little bit of a victory for black right there. But if he was bold, if he saw this, yeah, and the computer will probably tell us that white is up 3 points or so here. I have ways to hold on to this? Oh, okay, knight comes here. Now my knight is not vulnerable to this fork. Okay, but still, I was concerned about this. I am up a pawn. I'm still okay. That's good to know. To know that pattern for Alekhine's defense. So, if we take here, bishop f3 is still the main move, and it says white is better. What's wrong with this? What did I do? How did I do this wrong? Queen e2 check. Oh, a more obvious fork. But I can block with the queen. Knight e5. Okay, this is quite involved. Knight takes d4 is my best try. Because if I take the queen, he recaptures with the bishop. That's hitting my knight. And that's also hitting c7, and I can't defend both. I'm either losing this pawn and rook to the fork, or I'm losing that knight. So instead of that, just going for knight d4. Now knight takes e7. Interesting. Knight takes e2. Bishop takes e2. And yeah, if I recapture this knight, he's going to capture this last knight. So that hanging knight on c4 does end up being the bane. So I was leery of this line for the wrong reasons. I was leery of this line because I thought about, whoops, way back too far there. I thought there was a queen fork on a4. So here we go. This line. I saw d5 or maybe queen a4. Maybe queen a4 to begin with works. No, because there's knight b6 and you're hitting the queen. Yeah, but I didn't see queen e2 check. So yeah, having the undefended knight on c4. Glad I didn't go for that line, but it was a different line that would have punished it. Okay, it's a good lesson there. Even if what you're seeing is a ghost that you're afraid of, you might have missed some of the real threats. So it's important to be careful. So I just get castled. Okay, this is moving another piece twice. I don't understand the point of this, and it's like that's a big swing against black, against white here. The computer goes from about a pawn advantage for white to a pawn advantage for black. White should just, instead of castling, should play this first. And now, that's the main move here. Now black castles. Or maybe more accurate is bishop f6. Just to keep up the pressure on d4. This is a much more balanced game. Instead he went for knight e4. And the computer likes bishop takes f3 right away. I just went ahead and castled. Now there's d5. Okay, I castled. And then he got b3 in. But still, wow, minus 2.0. e5. Knight g3. Okay, d takes c4, huh? Just ignore this. I wasn't happy about this. Queen c8. He just has to go back. And now, forget about this pawn. Just go for rook to d8. Ah, now we're threatening the knight and we're threatening the pawn. Okay. Bishop a3 to protect the knight. Bishop takes f3. Bishop takes f3, and our knight isn't looking very comfortable there. He takes d4. Lose the exchange. Bishop takes a8. Queen takes a8. This is a fun-looking line. Can castle. What's bishop takes c5. Bishop takes c5. Knight e6. Okay, and there's no way to hang on to this bishop. Incredibly involved line there. So we're going to have two knights for a rook. Pawns are going to be equal. Honestly, that's a tough position for play. I am hesitant to win two knights for the rook. The rook can often, as the board opens up, be a stronger player than both of those knights combined, in my experience. Anyway, that was an involved line. Let's get back to the game. Okay, so I did protect with my rook, and Black still has the advantage here. White finally castles. Okay, bishop takes f3, followed by... What? Bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, knight takes d4. Bishop f6. Oh, we've got this nasty skewer. And we're winning the exchange. Okay. Winning a rook, I should say. Well, that's winning the exchange. Okay. Instead, I went this route. Recaptured. Knight takes d4 immediately, huh? This works as well. Queen takes. Oh, it's not as strong. Apparently it is. 2.7. Knight b3. Knight takes f3. Knight takes c4. Bishop d6. b5. Just hold up that knight. Yeah. The rook is already placed behind that pawn, so that makes sense as well. Okay. Evaluation is holding steady here. It's getting better for black. As the pieces come off, it gets simpler for black. b5. b5 anyway. Probably would have been better. Went for this. Knight d5. That would have been better than c6. It holds everything together. Backwards knight moves. Okay, this lost some of my advantage. Knight a5. I saw knight a5 coming. I just figured I had some kind of defenses. The problem is, if I defend here, he just Actually, he goes for knight b7 immediately. And gets a couple... Oh, yeah, no, that's not really defending it, is it? So yeah, I've got to go for this. He takes, which is not the best move, apparently. Now rook b8. I see. I'm going to win this and keep the king shut out. My advantage is dissipating, but I had to go for some tricks here. Just wanted to get that pawn so I at least have a pass pawn on the queen side. You have to kind of reorganize his forces to try to get to that. Yeah, my advantage is pretty dissipated here. I mean, that extra pawn is pretty well kept in check by this knight. He should have gone back to the first rank here. No, king h3. Okay, g5. 4 would have gotten him out of trouble. Really? Difficult to see that. Thing is, he can't be afraid of ghosts either. He has to be willing to come back here. Into this discovery. Oof, this looks dangerous. He just clears his rook out. No. Okay. There's not really anything useful to be done. Knight g4 check. Oops. Knight g4 check, and I guess we're picking up this. No. Rook b1. Okay. Well, clearly that's a game. But white blundered into this. I was excited about this because my knight forks the rook and the king. It's kind of a empty threat, though. Really, the knight f2 check is not the end of the world because the king can always come back to g2, as long as there's no useful discoveries. And with this little material on the board and it being so scattered across the board, it's not too hard to make sure of. He panicked. He wanted to give himself g3 as an escape square. This just gave right. He can't come here because of this mate. I love those rook and knight mates. Those are hook mates. You see this pattern a lot with the rook and a knight and a pawn. Yeah, very elegant. It's a queen mate. They usually are, meaning the rook only covers this square, that square. Well, it's not queen. The pawn also covers that square. The pawn covers the knight, and the knight covers the rook and this extra square. So, mates, watch out for those. I had to take, and then I have my choice here. I could just start pushing this pawn, or I could just win another pawn here. So, yeah, that's the game. Thanks, everyone, for watching. I always enjoy putting these up. So stay feisty. See you next time.